amended budget is used to make one-time adjustments. Some are housekeeping items and others are workload adjustments. But these past two budget cycles, as we previously discussed, have provided unprecedented opportunities to make one-time strategic investments in our state's infrastructure, be it technology projects or capital needs.
House Appropriations Chair Representative Matt Hatchett talks about the differences in the budgets as legislators focus on their most important task in these waning days of the session. Good evening and welcome to day 33 of the 40-day Georgia General Assembly. I'm Donna Lowry in Atlanta. Passing the budget is the only thing legislators are constitutionally required to complete during each legislative session. That's why tonight we're going to devote our show to discussing the budget. Think of how you tackle your personal or your family budget, then scale that up to reach $36.1 billion. Last week, the Georgia House approved the first draft of that $36.1 billion spending plan for fiscal year 2025. In the studio tonight, the appropriations wizards from both chambers who will dish up some of the featured attractions in the budget, which goes into effect July 1st. First, let's get a rundown of the day at the Capitol from Sarah Callis.
Hi, Donna. The legislature focused on a range of issues, from crime to space. Plus, a local sports celebrity visited the Gold Dome. The House took up several bills related to crime prevention today. Senate Bill 421 would crack down on swatting, which is when someone reports a fake crime to law enforcement to send emergency services to another person's house. The bill passed the Senate earlier in the session after several senators were swatted.
This bill criminalizes swatting, and it will keep not only members of the public safe, but more importantly, it'll keep our members of law enforcement safe so that they won't get called out to these incidents. Those folks will be behind bars who are doing the swatting.
The bill also aims to harshen penalties for drive-by shootings.
This makes it clear, do not shoot at a dwelling, do not shoot at a car. It gives some very specific laws.
The bill passed 162 to 2. Members also unanimously passed the Safeguarding Adopted Children from Sexual Violence Act, which would add adoptive parents to incest charges. Another bill aiming to prevent human trafficking in massage therapy practices and spas also passed easily.
I hope that you will join me in furthering our efforts to fight human trafficking in our state and vote yes.
SB 370 would require photos on massage therapist licenses and allow the Georgia Board of Massage Therapists to initiate on-site visits to massage therapy practices. And another retirement announcement. Representative Clay Perkle said he will not run for re-election after nearly a decade in the House.
It has been an honor to serve with you. Each of us makes sacrifices to play this role. Mine has been a shared one. My dad has held the farm together for almost 10 years while I served here. My mom kept me engaged in the community. You know how moms do. Clay, you need to be at this festival. Clay, you need to go to this meeting. Clay, you need to be involved. And my wife, Sharon, she kept our home intact. Lots of sacrifice while I was up here.
In the Senate, a midday start with a handful of bills being passed. Space Force was added to the list of armed forces and was given the same retirement and pension benefits as the other military services in two bills, HB 299 and HB 385. HB 563 would allow a hearing before an administrative judge in cases related to state employee job complaints. And HB 1181 would limit how long taxpayers can carry forward certain income tax incentives.
The tax credits that were addressed in this were specifically the ones that have been underutilized and incentives that total less than $1 million for the fiscal year 2024 report by the Georgia State Fiscal Research Center, who we've used on many occasions to do these important measurements.
Remember the Golden Elephant Award given to Democratic Senator Josh McLaurin last week? Well, it appears to have a new home.
Did I notice the Golden Elephant has been moved off the senator from the 14th and onto the senator from the 20th? What happened there?
Yes, sir. The nutritionist checked the health and well-being of the elephant, and he has been unfed for the last 7 days, and he undernourished. So we moved him to another senator's desk to see if we can't revive his health.
Okay. Senator from the 14th, what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I was trying to make sure the elephant could fit into skinny jeans, Mr. President?
He would only look good. You would only know about the skinny jeans between those two. I can tell you that.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that when the elephant arrived to the senator from the 14th desk, it was heavily overweight and kind of fat, so the senator from the 14th trimmed the fat? So that means that he exercised great fiscal conservatism
Being a good
at his
conservative.
desk.
Being a good conservative.
And finally, former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan was at the Capitol this morning. Matty Ice was here to drive support and help all K through 12 public schools score heart defibrillators with HB 874. The bill would require the devices, as well as training and medical response plans. That's all for my Capitol report. Lawmakers will return to the Capitol on Wednesday for day 34. Back to you, Donna.
Thank you, Sarah, for that report. The state budget shapes your life in a variety of ways, from your child's school and affordable childcare to college education and supporting older adults as they age. It maintains police and fire protection, manages the justice system, operates prisons, and keeps things moving for everything from transportation to commerce. There are parks and wildlife, libraries, elections, and so much more. And as we get started, a quick disclaimer: Georgia Public Broadcasting is a state agency, and we get some funding in the state's budget. We're going to break down the budget highlights with the Appropriations Chairman. In the House, Chairman Matt Hatchett is from Dublin in Lawrence County. He has served as House Appropriations Chair since 2022. And before that, he had a variety of leadership positions, including Majority Whip. And in the Senate, Chairman Blake Tillery of Vidalia in Toombs County has served as Senate Appropriations Chair since the spring of 2020. And he's Vice Chairman of the Senate Committees on Government Oversight and State Institutions and Property. Chairman, thank you so much for being here. I know you're from Dublin. We had a long talk about it. Sorry about that. One of the key steps in the budget process is the governor setting the revenue estimate. And Chairman Tillery explained that a critical piece of the process and what takes place from there.
The governor does set the revenue estimate. That's right. It starts from there. Then the House picks it up. Matt holds it for usually a week or two longer than we think he should, and then he sends it over, and we go from there. But Hatchett has been a great chairman, good guy to work with. Took over after Terry England, and without good people, there's no way that a process this big could get done.
Yeah, so he does that process, and then it kind of moves on. And I know there's been some joking because we had this on there. The Senate was waiting on the 2025 budget.
Anxiously,
just waiting. And now you have it, and it's all in your court. Let's look at the budget first from the revenue side. So let's find out where the money is coming in. And so with that, we know that there is Let's look at the budget first from the revenue side. And this is a pie chart based on the amended budget for fiscal 2024, which the governor has signed. It shows where the funds come from. The largest chunks at the top come from individual income taxes. That big green slice, 41.3%. Then to the left of it, sales taxes at 21.7%. There are also corporate taxes on the bottom, a little over 8%, and the rest from fees, the motor fuel tax, the lottery, and other sources of income. So Chairman Tillery, that's where it all comes in, and we want people to know that. Those numbers haven't changed a whole lot over the years, have they?
Not a lot. I mean, you've had a whole lot more excess overall. The income tax is obviously a lot more people are paying in and doing withholdings than we saw in the past. Corporate withholdings are well up, as I'm sure we'll talk about later on. And then, of course, sales tax has been up since COVID, and the passage of the Marketplace Facilitator Act that was championed by Senator John Albers from Roswell and Alpharetta several years ago.
Okay, so I just I'm sticking with you a little bit because you got a lot to talk about coming up with the budget. The state has done pretty well with revenue, but things are slowing down a bit. Today, this morning, the governor's office announced that February net tax collections fell 4.3%, with the adjusted year to date down more than 3%. So what can you tell us about those numbers and where any trends are?
Yeah, well, I think you'll see from Chairman Hatchett and myself that some folks may call us the eternal pessimist in state government. We're always worried about when the next shoe falls. And you're seeing that slow down now. Remember, though, that that's after 3 consecutive years of record-breaking tax collections on the state level. When our state decided to stay open, thanks to Governor Kemp, our revenues responded, and the people of Georgia responded. And so while these are slowdowns compared to the year before, if you were to look back over the past 3 or 4 years, you'd still see that they're quite monumental increases.
Okay, so we're going to see a trend with maybe the money not coming in as robustly as maybe a year ago, or certainly a couple of years ago.
You'll clearly see negatives if you compare this month to months of 2023, and then I think you'll see it level out over the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah. So now let's look at the amended. We've talked about the amended budget. Let's talk more about where the money is going, and we're going to look at the money, another pie chart, and this is from your office. This shows that education gets about half the money, and that includes higher education. Health and Human Services next with 21%, then 10% for transportation, and the rest economic development, general government, bond debt, and capital project, and the 7% for public safety. So let's talk a little bit about your feelings about these numbers. It's about the same.
I'll just say, while that was up, you could see that education was 48%.
Yeah, put that back up on the screen.
It's usually over 50, and the reason it's showing not over 50 right now is in the amended budget that we just passed, there was a $1.5 billion infusion into transportation, which is a separate pie here, and so it's usually a little over 50, so that's why you see the little difference right now, because there was so much money, new money, that we put over $5 billion in the original 24 budget to form the amended this go around, and really put some large numbers in economic development, retirement, the employee retirement plan, and so it made those percentages a little different than they are, but education is still the largest portion.
Yeah,
of the
I
budget.
think 53% last year, but down a little bit. So, thanks for explaining why the difference. With these percentages, let's talk a little bit about what state employees are going to get. So we're going to put up another graphic here. All state employees will get a cost of living adjustment of 4%, and there's an additional $3,000 in the House budget in salary adjustments for law enforcement and corrections officers, and that is above that 4%, plus additional salary adjustments for employees in the Department of Human Services, the Department of Agriculture, and the GBI. And the jobs range from caseworkers to food inspectors to crime lab scientists and technicians. And so talk a little bit, Chairman Hatchett, about what you call the high turnover, difficult to fill positions.
Well, that is, while we have slowly been doing these raises over the last few years because the recruitment and attrition of our state employees, and we're having to make sure that we are comparable or compatible with the rest of the world, and so we've had to do this, and we've been able to because we have been conservative over the last 10 years, and we've built up a nice surplus that we can do some of this, and a lot of the discussion since I've been chairman and even before was after COVID and before COVID, even what's going to be the new norm, and I think you're seeing that now. You're seeing where we're probably going to land in this budget world and where we are, because everything's kind of calming back down. I know that we've got a lot of inflation going on right now, so things are slowing because of that. But I think you're seeing just a new normal where we're going to be. Hopefully it'll stabilize and just maintain for a while.
Yeah, and the key has been that over the years when we listen to all the agency heads come in, they talk about the fact that they just have a hard time filling a lot of these positions. And the state really, is the state trying to catch up with the private industry when it comes to salaries?
I think you're seeing this catch up, but then also the turnover. We're getting employees and then they're leaving before 10 years are up. So we're doing things. We've got to do things to try to make sure that we're paying them enough to keep them too. So.
Yeah, and I think there may be. Did you want to comment on that a little bit? I think what we're seeing is, it used to be some of us stayed in jobs forever, and we've got younger generations that stay in a job maybe a few years and then move on, and you've put that training into them.
Yeah, training was a big turnover item I know the House is focused on. From the Senate side, we've been very intentional in our raises as it relates to public safety. We've also tried to be intentional as it relates to caseworkers in our DFAC system. And then there's a few other areas, that DJJ, which sort of in corrections, where we know we have problems long term.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just getting started on all this, so I know you're not going anywhere. So coming up, more on the budget as we look at education and mental health, plus improving the state's ability to serve up justice. We looked at what the House budget has carved out for the state's courts. We'll look more at that in a moment. Stay with us.
Lawmakers is made possible by Georgia Farm Bureau. With over 80 years of helping everyone understand the importance of agriculture in our state. After all, ag is Georgia's #1 industry. Food and fiber production represents over $74 billion in output of Georgia's strong economy. The Georgia Farm Bureau legislative team works to represent producers across Georgia at the state capitol during the session and year-round. Georgia Farm Bureau, the voice of Georgia farmers.
People put their faith in PBS because they know that it is constantly delivering quality. It covers the whole of the United States. It's a free and independent media.
We go where the viewers are.
What are the conversations that are happening right now?
We feel that civil discourse is a civic responsibility.
What we do is authentic reporting that people can trust.
We give time so you can hear voices on all sides of an issue.
This is the place that people turn to for stories that matter.
And they know that when they walk away, they will have learned something about the world around them.
That's why this makes PBS important for daily life and, in the end, our world.
Thank you for joining us.
Community. Learning, working, playing, celebrating, doing life is always better together. At GPB, we aim to provide you with the tools to be able to do life together well. Our mission to educate, inform, and entertain inspires everything from our wide range of programming to our stimulating radio conversations to our fun in-person events. We've got something for everyone. Visit gpb.org/community to learn more about our upcoming events.
Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm Donna Lowry. This is our special budget show with Appropriations Chairman, Representative Matt Hatchett, and Senator Blake Tillery. And Chairman Hatchett, let's dig further into the fiscal year 2025 budget when it comes to education. So we're going to put up some numbers. $9.5 million grant from the state lottery funds will allow for increasing the number of pre-K classes by 382, but reduce class sizes for each one of them from 22 students to 20. There's $6.3 million for literacy coaches. I know that's been big, and $104 million for school safety. All of those priorities among many of your members.
Yes, especially the $104 million for school security. That's something we've worked on the last 2 or 3 years, and this is the first time that it's actually been put as a part of the QBE formula. Will be there from now on. It's $45,000 per school, and it can be used for contract personnel, to hire security, to do other security measures. So it's important. And another thing that wasn't on your list is this year we upped the funding for pupil transportation, $204 million. And that's taken what we have been doing, sharing with local school systems. It's been about 20% of the total cost. This takes it to 40% of the total cost. And it's truing that number up to a lot closer to what it should be. So.
And I don't think people realize how big that cost is. Not only is it just the buses, but it's the fuel and maintenance and all of those
and the
costs.
Bus drivers.
And the drivers, of course. So they will be good. And there is money for school lunches. And I know there has been concern that some of the students wouldn't be able to get.
We added last year and we added again this year $6.3 million to pay for those students that receive reduced rate lunch and breakfast. It pays for their breakfast and lunch.
And that'll be a year-to-year thing you'll have to look at?
Yes.
Explain what happened back during the the pandemic, the federal government was helping with
Right,
that,
so
and
doing that. And we asked and chose to do that last year, and the Senate did agree. And then the state board came in and did fund it with some Fed funds they had left over. So
there are a few areas where there will be loan forgiveness for a few jobs. Can you talk about those where there are some jobs that you think are critical and you want to encourage more people to go to college?
Right, we've been doing several of those programs over the last few years, and they're being successful, and we're expanding them. The Senate actually added some for nursing students in the amended budget. So
okay, so let's talk about healthcare a little bit. The House budget includes money to include basic dental care as part of Medicaid coverage. That's new.
Yes.
Talk about that.
We've had several members that have really been pushing this. I think it's about a little over $9 million add to the budget. We pay for this for adults that are on Medicaid in emergency situations. And being the son of a dentist, I know how important it is also for routine care. So I think it will behoove us to do that and provide routine care. Therefore, who knows, you may actually have savings because you don't have emergency situations.
Right.
So,
and overall health situations
are
improved for people. I'm sure
Oral
your dad,
health
the
is
dentist,
very
told you
important.
that. All righty. You drew big applause on another thing, and you announced that the House budget includes $1.5 million to establish the David Ralston Center for Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities at the University of Georgia. Talk about that.
that's something that was near and dear to several members and to his family, to his passion, especially toward the end of his, I'd say, term life. It was helping with mental health, and he shepherded that huge legislation through. And I think it's a way to honor him and memorialize him and help that profession even get more people recruited into the field and make sure they got proper training.
Yeah.
So it was an honor to make that announcement.
So overall, not a big push like when he pushed through 1013, HB 1013 years ago, but mental health slowly, there are various aspects of the budget that will help in mental health.
Right. I know the governor had added almost $150 million worth of funding and different rate increases for different programs that help with mental health, and we added not a lot, but some to that too. So I mean, mental health is being discussed, being talked about more, and it was definitely exaggerated more during COVID. I mean, the mental health is so important, and almost every family's been affected one way or the other with someone that's having challenging times.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that he's smiling down that you guys are continuing to do that.
He's probably fussing.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Let's move on to the courts. And we've got some numbers to put up, nearly $21 million to attract and retain attorneys in court systems throughout the state. It increases salaries to between $70,000 and $80,000 for ADAs, for instance, and the new funding for judicial salaries restructuring. Tell us about those priorities, because you talked a lot about that on the floor of the House, how what's going on with the court system. That's where the private sector is really taking away lawyers, right?
So the judicial system, the justices, the Supreme Court, and Superior Court judges, that is a bill that's active actually in the Senate now. And there was an overall number, and my plan was to phase that in over 2 years. We'll see where the bill ends up in the Senate. The other is additional raises for assistant district attorneys and other attorneys and staff that work with all these people, with all the judges and the justices in the judicial system. But the most of it is for the assistant district attorneys to get their starting pay. Right now is $58,000 to get it up to $71,000, and this is another to be competitive with the private market. Everybody thinks lawyers make a lot of money. We can ask one; he's sitting across the table from me. But to be able to recruit one for $50,000, I think that was probably very hard to do. So we granted that, and we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, high turnover. It's when it comes to assistant district attorneys and in public defenders, all of that too, right?
Yeah, we may have a slightly different position of that on the Senate side. So, I mean, remember heck, I went home to Southeast Georgia, but it was 10 years ago now for $42,000 then. The starting pay for an attorney in Athens right now is about $60,000 to $80,000. So I don't think we're that far out of line, and folks don't want to say that, but one of the hardest parts of mine and Representative Hatchett, Chairman Hatchett's job, is you have to say no. And part of the time, we have to be the two that say no so that the other ones of our members can say yes. And that may not be the fun part of the job, but at the end, there's 11 million people counting on us to do that, because I promise you, they don't want to pay any more in taxes.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about another area, and that deals with the unhoused. There is some help in the House budget for the unhoused, for people who are homeless.
Right. I think the total is about 14 million. You've got the Housing Trust Fund that we do anywhere from $3 to $6 million a year in the Housing Trust Fund, and it brings down a lot of federal funds. There is another bill that's making its way through the process that we did pass, and we put $1 million in there for that. But it's an accountability housing program that not other for-profit companies and companies could actually donate to and put money in. So there's different things. People that would be participating in those shelters would have to criteria they'd have to meet to be there. So.
Okay. So you've given us some highlights, and now it's on to your side. So the process has already begun for hearings. I know there are quite a few tomorrow looking at all of this. So explain what happens at this point.
I'd like to hear Chairman Hatchett's view of what happens next.
They just perfect.
Oh, okay.
That's what he says. It's a perfect budget. So they just need to review it, look at it, and say it's okay, and send it back. So that's why we took a little longer with it, because we made sure it was perfect.
Is it perfect?
It takes us about 16 days to run through our process. He knows that. So, if we keep on that same schedule, we'll be able to get it back about day 39. We hope we can do it a little bit quicker this year.
Yeah, and then sometimes you've got to get together and make sure you agree, right?
Well, at the end, it better agree.
We'll get together.
But we will. And again, working with good people is what makes it work out. And I appreciate Chairman Hatchett and all the wisdom he brings to the table.
Well, we appreciate you guys. The fact that you can both sit here and just bring these numbers into your head just always amazes me. I have to talk to you because St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and you're from Dublin, so I'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about what's happening.
Well, this is a busy month for everybody in Dublin, and we had a hot air balloon festival this weekend that didn't go too great because of the rain and the wind.
Oh, okay.
The wind is as bad as rain, but this weekend is super weekend. Saturday we have a parade and a road race, and we have I don't think they call it Main Street Munchies, but we close down Main Street Saturday night and have bands and food and just fun. And Friday lunch is our joint civic luncheon. We'll have about 1,000 people out at our technical college having lunch. And the governor's speaking this year, so Governor Kemp will be there, and with First Lady Kemp and probably some of his family. So it's going to be a great weekend.
So you guys paint the town green.
The town has already been painted green, and it stays green all year round.
That's Dublin. That's it.
Can I say too?
Yeah.
I'd like to, we're talking about the budget and what we do, but it's everybody down there, and especially we both have two offices that we could not work without them. Christine Murdoch in the House Budget and Research Office is the director, and I'll let you give accolades. But those teams are great, and we could not do it without them.
Okay, well that's all we have time for. Thank you again for coming on. I'm glad you got a chance to tell us all about it. That does it for Lawmakers Day. Tomorrow is presidential primary election day. There are committee hearings, but the chambers will not gavel in, so we won't have a show. We return on Wednesday, and we'll talk about an update to the 911 amnesty law. Have a good night.